Hey y'all, my name's Summer Coble, and today I'm going to be doing a formal analysis of Three Flags, which is an acoustic painting by Jasper. He created this piece in 1958, so we'll talk a little more about that later on, but keep that in mind as we go through an analysis of this piece and just try to learn a little more about it. First up, we're going to go over a description of the painting, so clearly, obviously, you can see it. You see the red and white stripes, which obviously are an American flag with the stars up in the top left-hand corner. If you look at the painting, you notice that there's actually three of the flags inside the painting, and they are layered one on top of each other. The smallest one is in front, obviously. At first, it's a little hard to notice that there's three of them there if you're just looking at the top of the painting, because the red and white stripes you expect it to be a pattern, but looking on the sides and closer to the bottom, you can definitely tell that there's three flags on top of one another and that they get smaller towards the top. This is something that kind of contradicts classical perspectives because the image does get bigger as it goes further back, as opposed to classical perspective, which is like if you're painting a room or something like that, or just like your traditional way of looking into a room. A good example to use is down a long, narrow hallway. You can see that it gets smaller off in the distance. So this is obviously the opposite of that. This piece of art is pop art. We can tell that because we know that the flag is just a really popular image no matter what time period you're in. You can see the bright contrasting colors and just the three flags layered on top of each other. So the next thing we're going to talk about is what type of painting this is. The media used, if you want to say that. This is an acoustic painting, which means that it was created by hot wax, which was applied to a surface. So the wax is heated up, add pigment into it to give it those bright colors. You see the red and the blue, and even the white. Obviously, it's not a true white, as you can tell compared to the background of the screen here. So obviously some kind of pigment was added in that just to create, the worn look of a traditional American flag. Not everything's bright and bold and fresh and new all the time. So you can tell that. You also can tell the little bit of shading in the red and in the blue as well, just where that was the media used, and that's just kind of how it played out for the artist. You can definitely see the scale of the three different sizes of the flags, as we talked about already. They do get smaller as you come forward, so just keep that in mind. The next thing we're going to go over is just a little interpretation of the painting. Like I talked about earlier, it was created in 1958, so if you know anything about American history, this was kind of a time period after World War II where civil rights movement was pretty big. So the creator, the artist of this piece, Jasper, his statement on all of his artworks was that they were facts. So he 100% left interpretation up to the viewer. So during this time, there was a lot of contradiction about whether it was meant to represent oppression, given the fact that it was made during the civil rights movement, or if it was just patriotism and freedom and the traditional American concept. So based on what he says about the painting was that it was purely just fact, which it is because it's just an American flag and that's just a symbol of our country. So you don't really know his actual meaning of it or what his purpose was. And maybe his purpose was to just leave it up to the viewer and leave it up to you, whatever you see, whatever you feel. What does America mean to you? What did America mean to you during that time period? During the 1950s, there was a lot going on in America. Like I said, the World War II had not been over for too long, and you had the civil rights movement going on, so many people were feeling oppressed and had that concept kind of fresh in the front of their mind, so many people may have seen it as that way, but like I said, he did leave it up to the viewer 100%. Last up, just a little judgment of the piece. Personally, I say it's a really nice piece. I'm a very patriotic person personally, so of course I like the painting. For others, they might feel that, the painting is nice, but they don't actually like it.